Now, here's a big problem. Many charismatic ministries won't see the next generation. Won't see the next generation except as they change. All this hand over to your son, hand over to your daughter is not ministry.
All right, so in recent time, we've got to see a lot of news talking about leadership succession in the church. And particularly, this issue came up again when the likes of Pastor Jimmy came to take over the arms of affairs in his late father's church. And so people have been wagging talk. A lot of people are of the opinion that ministry is family business. I mean, if you have been on this platform, you would have seen a lot of video, even by very popular YouTubers. But I saw this video by Bishop David Oyedepo, where he was able to give clear comments and clear explanation and definition, I think, in a ministers' conference. Now, I want you to listen to this video with an open heart, okay? I want to know what you think about what Bishop said in this video and what it thinks about leadership succession and how it should be done in the church. Now, I know very well some persons might still see this and might want to believe maybe it's hypocritical, but I want you to have an open mind as we go into the video.
Now, here's a big problem. Many charismatic ministries won't see the next generation. Won't see the next generation except as they change. All this hand over to your son, hand over to your daughter is not ministry. It's not. No prayer, no nothing. And no process, only between you and your son. That's not life. Define the process. If God picks that son, it may not be the first, it may not be the second. Maybe the third or the fourth. But it's not a family inheritance. It's not chieftaincy title in your village's process in the spirit. If the man gets it, it will still be subject to vetting of the body responsible. Hello. You're quiet now. Now, if you go by that thing that people are doing now, the next leader will also put a son there that may not even be born again. That's the end of the ministry. That may not be born again. Define the process of succession. Define the process of succession. You know, Joshua is not a biological son of Moses. And the sons of Moses never caused any problem. They were very holy sons. But they were not the one chosen by God. Define the process. This thing is not genetical. Define the process. Let the process be well understood. Life is so simple. Define the age limit. Because you need energy to drive.
Yes.
Particularly all these big ministries that are rising.
Yeah.
You need the energy to drive. Energy to drive. Don't get an 80-year-old person to come and drive a trailer. No. You will sleep off. Define the terms of eligibility. So there won't be anything you are running around for. Who are eligible? What must they possess for the eligibility? What is the process for the ultimate emergence? Define it. It's so simple. Not when we're about to die. Baba, who is taking over? There was one Jeremiah. They say he has left. He's in heaven. What of Jacuz?
Now, if you ask me, I want to believe what Bishop explained in there is very straightforward, okay? If you are sincere with ourselves, this should actually, in my own opinion or estimation, this easy explanation actually should put an end to the numerous criticism which the church has actually faced when it comes to church succession. I mean, some persons might even want to think maybe Bishop is being hypocritical here, because obviously there have been different news. There have been news on the internet that suggests maybe he was going to hand over to his son. But I want to ask you this question: if eventually a leader decides to hand over to his son, what are the criteria? What do you want to consider to say that this thing that church is doing is actually wrong or is a sin. Now, first thing you have to understand is that these people were assigned by God to do a work. Okay, and just like we've been able to establish in some of the video which we did about this topic, there is nowhere where the scripture actually is against a leader handing over the aims of leadership to his son. Taking the case of Aaron, how God instructed that priesthood should remain in the family of Aaron as a statute forever. So by the scripture, you can't by any way fault that action of a leader wanting to hand over to his son. The most important thing is that, does that person have the capability and ability of leadership? Is he called into ministry? Those are the key things. Okay, so just like Bishop has rightly explained, if those churches are able to define the proper way of leadership should be set, and they followed scriptural way of setting up leadership, you have no any excuse whatsoever to come and criticize a church that have decided to run its church in a certain way, a way that is scriptural. Whether they decide to hand over leadership to their son, it is not of your business, especially when they've been able to inculcate this into the church constitution, just like the case where, we saw in the case of Jimmy, all right, Pastor Jimmy, when the board of trustees actually came out and say, this is what we have decided to do, and we followed the constitution to the letter in appointing or in nominating Jimmy. So from what Bishop explained, I believe you have no excuse whatsoever to begin to criticize the church, because first of all, the church is registered as a non-profit organization with CAC in Nigeria. And if the church follows every ethics and code of CAC for a non-profit organization, first of all, they have no crime. They've not committed any crime against the government. Okay, and if they decide to say, okay, this is how God has called our church to run, that we should hand over leadership, or I'm going to hand over leadership to my son, and the people there accept and believe that, okay, yes, we can work with this man, there's nothing wrong with it. And that was why Bishop was very clear when he said, let the process be defined. I think where the issue might actually arise, or just like we have seen some churches whereby they at the demise of a leader, the church now scattered. Okay, it usually arises in those instances when the church leader failed to set up a process, make the process known to every leader, even to the church member. Let them know this is how we will eventually hand over leadership to the next person, to the next generation. Okay, there are things to be considered, just like you can see Bishop actually rightly pointed. Age is also one of the things you have to consider. Okay, you will not want to hand over leadership to someone that is very old, someone that is very weak, someone that needs to retire. I mean, so everything we explain here, I think, is very logical. Okay, even though I know people will still want to criticize what Bishop actually said in this video, but then if you're actually reasonable and logical, I think this video should put an end to the numerous things we've got to hear people talk about church being ministry, church being family business, and all of that. I mean, are you expecting, the question I want to ask is that, are you expecting them to hand over leadership to someone God has not called? As long as the process is properly defined at any point, even before the succession eventually happens, so long as there is a defined process and they have constitution to back that process, you have nothing against that church. Even God cannot have anything against it, except God has categorically said this is who should be handed over to, and then they did not follow that process. If they eventually refuse to follow the process which God has handed over to them, it will be obvious. The sheep will scatter. All right. So when we critique the church, I believe in critiquing some errors and ills of the church. I believe in that, but let's do it with all sensibility. So this is Fine with the Potters Media, and until next time, we will come your way once again with another publication. See you.